From the windswept plains to the snow-laden forests, and the arid deserts to the icy tundras, Native American cultures across North America faced environments of unparalleled extremes. Yet, within these challenges lay a profound testament to human ingenuity and resilience. Far from being simple dwellings, the shelters crafted by indigenous peoples were sophisticated architectural marvels, meticulously designed to not just withstand, but to thrive in the face of nature's deadliest forces, blizzards that could bury landscapes and freeze life itself. This deep, almost spiritual connection to the land wasn't merely about finding resources. It was about understanding every nuance of the environment, observing its patterns, and learning its secrets. This intimate knowledge informed every cut of timber, every stretch of hide, every packed layer of earth. What often goes overlooked is the sheer scientific and engineering brilliance embedded within these traditional building methods, a knowledge passed down through generations, ensuring the survival of communities against odds that would daunt modern construction. In this documentary, we embark on a journey to uncover the remarkable diversity of these indigenous shelters, exploring how various nations adapted their designs to suit their unique regional climates and available materials. We will delve into the underlying principles of indigenous shelter design, revealing the innovative thermal properties, structural integrity, and sustainable practices that allowed Native Americans to not only survive, but to flourish amid some of the harshest environments on Earth. Chapter 1: North America's Winter Fury, a Historical Perspective. Before European contact, North America was a land of profound climatic extremes, a landscape shaped by forces far grander and more unpredictable than many modern observers might imagine. Its winters, in particular, were not merely cold. They were often brutal, mercurial affairs capable of transforming vast swathes of the continent into deadly frozen wildernesses. The North American landmass, stretching from the Arctic to the subtropics, experienced a dramatic oscillation between seasons, with winters regularly plunging into severe conditions. Blizzards were not an infrequent phenomenon, but a recurring existential threat across many regions, from the Great Plains to the mountainous west and the forested northeast. These weren't quaint snowfalls. They were meteorological events that combined plummeting temperatures, often dropping tens of degrees below freezing in a matter of hours, with heavy, relentless snowfall that could bury landscapes under several feet of white. Crucially, these blizzards were almost always accompanied by high winds, creating blinding whiteouts, driving snow into every crevice, and dramatically increasing the wind chill factor to lethal levels. For indigenous peoples, these weren't inconveniences to be weathered by a roaring fire. They were cataclysms that could isolate communities for weeks, cut off food supplies, and turn exposed individuals into frozen statues within hours. The threat of isolation was particularly acute. Trails disappeared, hunting grounds became inaccessible, and even nearby settlements became unreachable. Accounts from early European explorers and historical indigenous oral traditions speak of winters where entire herds of bison perished in deep snows, or where communities faced starvation due to prolonged entrapment. The Little Ice Age, a period of global cooling from roughly the medieval period to the mid-19th century, amplified these conditions, making winters even more severe and unpredictable. Imagine the vast open plains of what is now Montana or the Dakotas, where a seemingly clear day could swiftly turn into a maelstrom of snow and wind, capable of dropping temperatures from above, freezing to 20 below in a single afternoon. Or the dense forests of the Iroquois territories, where a blizzard could create drifts taller than a man, burying game trails and making hunting impossible. In such an environment, where survival hung precariously on ingenuity and foresight, effective shelter was not merely a comfort. It was the definitive line between life and a swift, frozen death. The imperative of shelter, more than just four walls. For Native American communities, shelter was far more than a simple convenience against the biting cold. It was a fundamental pillar of survival, intricately woven into the very fabric of their existence. When blizzards raged and temperatures plummeted to deadly extremes, a well-constructed dwelling offered the most immediate and critical protection from the elements. The driving snow, the relentless wind, and the hypothermic chill that could claim a life in hours. But its role extended far beyond mere physical refuge. Within the insulated walls of a winter lodge, vital resources were preserved. Food stores, carefully gathered and processed during warmer months, were protected from freezing solid, from pests, and from the hungry eyes of scavenging animals. Fuel, essential for warmth and cooking, could be stored dry and accessible. Tools, clothing, and medicinal plants, all crucial for daily life and survival, found a safe haven, preventing damage and loss that could prove catastrophic in harsh conditions. Moreover, the shelter became the crucible of community cohesion. During periods of intense cold when outdoor activities were severely limited, the shared space fostered a profound sense of unity and mutual reliance. Stories were told, knowledge was passed down through generations, and spiritual ceremonies were performed, reinforcing social bonds and cultural identity. The warmth of the hearth was not just physical. It was a metaphorical warmth that nurtured the collective spirit, sustaining hope and resilience through the darkest months. From the shelter, hunting and gathering expeditions were launched, and to it they returned with their precious harvests. It served as a strategic base of operations, a place to prepare for the unforgiving landscape and to recover afterward. In a holistic view, the dwelling was not a separate entity, but an integral part of the natural world and the community's spiritual universe. Its construction often mirrored cosmological beliefs, its orientation reflecting celestial alignments, and its very existence imbued with spiritual significance. It was a place where the physical and the sacred converged, where daily life unfolded in rhythm with the seasons, and where the enduring spirit of the people found its most tangible expression against the formidable power of winter. Chapter 2. Foundational Principles of Indigenous. Architecture. Native American shelter construction was a sophisticated dance with the environment, deeply rooted in principles that modern architecture continues to explore. It wasn't about complex tools or written blueprints, but an intuitive understanding, almost a form of biomimicry, learning directly from nature's master builders. Indigenous peoples observed how animals survived harsh winters, the insulative properties of a beaver lodge, the wind-deflecting curve of a badger's burrow, or the thermal stability of a bear's den. These observations translated into core architectural principles that were applied with remarkable ingenuity. Take, for instance, thermal mass. Many dwellings, particularly those designed for extreme cold, incorporated materials like earth, stone, or packed snow. A pit house, partially excavated into the ground and then roofed, utilized the earth's stable temperature to moderate internal warmth. Similarly, an igloo, constructed from dense, compacted snow, harnessed snow's surprising insulative properties while its mass helped to retain heat generated inside. Insulation was paramount. Layers of animal hides, woven mats, or even packed moss and grass within wall cavities created crucial air pockets to trap warmth. The conical shape of a teepee, for example, allowed for efficient heat distribution from a central fire, with smoke escaping through an adjustable opening, while multiple layers of buffalo hides provided a robust, insulated envelope. Passive solar gain was another subtle yet powerful principle. Dwellings were often oriented to maximize sun exposure during the day, particularly during winter months, allowing sunlight to penetrate and warm interior spaces. Conversely, strategic overhangs or deciduous vegetation could provide shade in warmer seasons. Wind deflection was critical for exposed sites. The aerodynamic shapes of many shelters, like the domed wigwam or the curved windbreaks of some temporary camps, minimize the impact of biting winds, preventing heat loss and enhancing comfort. Finally, structural integrity, achieved through interlocking poles, woven branches, or carefully stacked stones, ensured stability against heavy snow loads or strong gales. All these principles were not abstract theories, but practical applications, born from generations of deep environmental knowledge and a profound respect for the materials provided by the land. Site selection, the first defense against the storm. Before a single log was cut or a hide stretched, the true artistry of indigenous shelter building began with an almost sacred act: site selection. For Native American communities, choosing where to build was as critical as the materials themselves, a testament to their deep understanding of the land and its unpredictable temperament. Their survival, particularly against the onslaught of deadly blizzards, hinged on meticulously identifying locations that offered inherent advantages. Natural windbreaks were paramount. A stand of dense pines on the north side of a potential dwelling, or a gentle rise of land, could deflect the biting Arctic winds, reducing wind chill dramatically. The lee side of a hill, for instance, became a natural pocket of calm, often several degrees warmer than exposed areas. Sun exposure was another vital consideration. Southern-facing slopes, catching the low winter sun, absorbed crucial solar energy, warming the ground and the air around the future structure. This passive solar gain was a subtle yet powerful defense against the encroaching cold. Beyond immediate warmth, practicality dictated proximity to essential resources. A location near a reliable water source, often a spring that wouldn't freeze solid, was non-negotiable. Similarly, access to fuel, fallen timber or brush, minimized dangerous excursions during a blizzard. But wisdom also dictated avoiding hazards. Low-lying areas prone to flooding from spring thaws were bypassed, as were unstable slopes susceptible to avalanches. The very landscape became an ally. For the Plains tribes, a sheltered coulee or riverbank offered respite from the open prairie's ferocity. In the mountainous regions, a rock overhang or a natural cave entrance could be integrated into a semi-subterranean dwelling, leveraging the Earth's insulating properties. These were not random choices, but informed decisions, a profound dialogue with the environment that transformed a simple plot of land into a microclimate of survival, long before the first shovel broke ground. Materials. Science. Harnessing nature's bounty. Native American narrator, V.O. Survival in the face of nature's fury wasn't merely about enduring, it was about understanding. Indigenous peoples possessed an unparalleled intimacy with their environment, a knowledge that translated directly into the ingenious construction of their shelters. They were master architects, sourcing every material locally, intimately aware of its properties and potential. Take wood, for instance. From the towering forests, they harvested logs for robust structural frames, providing the backbone of many dwellings. Smaller branches were woven into intricate latticework, forming walls and roofs, often plastered with other materials. And bark, particularly from trees like birch or elm, was a revelation. Its inherent water resistance made it an ideal roofing and siding material, expertly peeled in large sheets and layered to shed snow and rain. Then there were the animal hides and furs, a testament to their comprehensive use of every part of a hunted animal. Tanned hides, meticulously processed, offered extraordinary insulating properties. Layered and stretched over frameworks, they created windproof and snowproof barriers, trapping warm air within. Furs, with their dense undercoats, provided additional thermal resistance, crucial in the most unforgiving climates. Earth itself became a building block. Sod, cut in thick, insulating blocks, was piled to create walls and roofs, its fibrous root systems holding it together and providing natural insulation against the biting wind. Clay, often mixed with straw or other binders, formed a durable plaster, sealing gaps and adding thermal mass. In drier regions, adobe bricks, a mixture of earth, water, and organic material, were sun-baked into sturdy, heat-retaining modules, perfect for cold desert nights. Stone, wherever abundant, provided a formidable defense. Dry stacked without mortar, or sometimes with mud as a binder, it created robust, long-lasting structures that offered excellent thermal mass, slowly releasing absorbed heat throughout the night. Even the seemingly fragile reeds, found in marshy areas, were bundled and woven, creating surprisingly effective insulating mats and lightweight roofing materials, often used in conjunction with other elements. And in the most extreme northern reaches, where wood was scarce but snow abundant, a profound understanding of ice and snow's insulating qualities led to the creation of the igloo. Carving and shaping snow blocks, they built dome-shaped structures that trapped body heat, leveraging the air pockets within the snow itself as a remarkably efficient insulator. Each material, from the strongest log to the lightest reed, was not merely utilized but understood. Its strengths maximized, its weaknesses mitigated, all through sophisticated harvesting, processing, and combination techniques that ensured optimal performance against the relentless forces of extreme cold and snow. Their shelters weren't just buildings. They were extensions of the landscape crafted with the wisdom of generations, passive climate control, ancient wisdom, modern relevance. Long before the modern era embraced sustainable design, Native American builders were master practitioners of passive heating and cooling, demonstrating an advanced understanding of environmental engineering. Their structures were not merely shelters, they were finely tuned machines, meticulously oriented to harness nature's forces. Take, for instance, the strategic placement of a pueblo dwelling. These multi-story complexes were often built facing south, a deliberate choice to maximize exposure to the low-angle winter sun. This orientation allowed the sun's rays to penetrate deep into living spaces, providing warmth when it was most needed. But passive solar gain was only one piece of the puzzle. The very materials used were chosen for their thermal properties. Thick adobe walls, a hallmark of southwestern architecture, served as a prime example of thermal mass. During the day, these dense walls would slowly absorb heat from the sun and the interior fire. As temperatures dropped after sunset, the stored heat would gradually radiate back into the living space, effectively creating a natural heating system that sustained warmth throughout the cold desert nights. This same principle worked in reverse during the scorching summer months. The thick walls would absorb the day's heat, keeping interiors cool, and then slowly release it into the cooler night air, preparing the structure for the next day. Beyond the fundamental orientation and material choices, sophisticated insulation techniques were also employed. The double-walled construction of certain earth lodges, for example, created air pockets within the structure. These trapped air layers acted as a natural barrier, significantly reducing heat transfer and keeping interiors warmer in winter and cooler in summer, a direct precursor to modern cavity wall insulation. Ventilation, too, was an art form, from carefully positioned smoke holes in teepees that drew air upwards, creating a natural chimney effect, to the strategic placement of small windows and door openings in pueblos that facilitated cross-ventilation. Native American builders understood how to manage internal temperatures without mechanical assistance. These methods weren't just about enduring harsh conditions. They were about cultivating comfortable and sustainable living environments, ensuring health and well-being. Their ingenuity in integrating building design with the natural world predates modern green building concepts by centuries, offering timeless lessons in respectful and intelligent coexistence with the environment. Chapter 3. Arctic and Subarctic, Masters of the Ice and Snow. Here, at the very top of the world, lies a landscape as breathtakingly beautiful as it is brutally unforgiving. We are speaking of the Arctic and subarctic regions, where winter's grip is absolute, and life itself seems to defy all odds. Imagine a world where temperatures plummet to lethal lows, often dropping well below -40 degrees Celsius, a chill that can freeze exposed flesh in mere minutes. Then add to this the relentless onslaught of blizzards, whiteout conditions that can last for days, driven by winds that strip away every ounce of warmth. For most, these conditions represent an uninhabitable wasteland, a place to be avoided at all costs. Yet, for millennia, indigenous peoples like the Inuit, the Yupik, and the Dini have not merely survived but thrived in these seemingly impossible environments. Their secret? An unparalleled understanding of their surroundings and an ingenuity that led to the development of specialized shelters perfectly adapted to withstand nature's harshest assaults. In lands where the vast open tundra offers little in the way of traditional building materials, no towering forests for lumber, no readily available stone, these communities had to become master innovators, utilizing the very elements that threatened their existence to craft havens of warmth and safety. Their resourcefulness, born of necessity, is a testament to human resilience and a profound connection to the land. The igloo, an icon of Arctic ingenuity. The igloo, often synonymous with the Arctic, stands as a testament to ingenious indigenous engineering, a snowhouse meticulously crafted to defy the harshest blizzards. Its construction begins with a careful selection of snow, not just any snow, but compacted wind-blown snow with sufficient density to be cut into sturdy blocks. Using a specialized snow knife, a long, broad blade, skilled builders would carve rectangular blocks, each precisely measured for uniformity. The initial course of blocks would be laid in a tight circle, leaning slightly inward. Subsequent courses would then be laid in a spiral, each new block carefully positioned to overlap the joints of the blocks below, much like bricks in a traditional arch. This continuous upward spiraling pattern, combined with the inward lean of each block, creates a self-supporting dome. The structural integrity of the igloo lies in this very design. The compressive forces within the dome are distributed evenly, preventing collapse. Beyond its impressive structural strength, the igloo's thermal properties are truly remarkable. Once the dome is complete, any small gaps between the blocks are meticulously filled with loose snow, sealing the structure against the biting wind. A crucial element is the entrance tunnel, typically built lower than the main living space. This design, often a short, curved passage, acts as a cold trap, preventing frigid air from directly entering the interior and allowing warmer, lighter air to remain trapped inside. A small ventilation hole at the apex of the dome ensures a continuous, albeit slow, exchange of air, preventing suffocation while minimizing heat loss. Inside, the igloo's interior can be warmed significantly by the occupant's body heat and the gentle glow of a small quillic, an oil lamp. The snow itself acts as an exceptional insulator, trapping air within its crystalline structure and creating a thermal barrier against the external cold. Temperatures inside an igloo can be maintained at a comfortable level, often just above freezing, even when outside temperatures plunge to 40 degrees Celsius or lower, offering a life-saving refuge from deadly blizzards and relentless winds. While often perceived as permanent dwellings, igloos were primarily used seasonally, particularly during winter hunting expeditions or as temporary shelters when on the move. Their cultural significance extends beyond mere shelter. They represent an intimate understanding of the Arctic environment and a profound connection to the land, embodying resilience, ingenuity, and a deep-seated knowledge passed down through generations. Karmats and semi-subterranean homes, permanent Arctic dwellings. While many shelters offered immediate protection, the long, brutal winters of the Arctic and subarctic demanded more permanent solutions. Here, ingenuity blossomed in structures like the karmat, a remarkable dwelling where a framework of whalebone or driftwood, sometimes even a combination, was meticulously erected. This skeletal structure was then draped with multiple layers of animal hides, typically seal or caribou skins, which provided a surprisingly effective barrier against the biting winds. Crucially, the karmat often featured a snow or ice foundation, which, counterintuitively, added to its insulating properties by creating a cold trap that prevented heat loss from the floor. Even more robust were the semi-subterranean houses, known as barabara in parts of Alaska, or simply sod houses. These structures represented a profound understanding of their environment. The primary construction involved excavating a pit, often several feet deep, which immediately provided a stable, insulated base. Into this pit, a sturdy frame of whalebone, the massive jaws and ribs of bowhead whales proving incredibly strong, or significant pieces of driftwood, carried by ocean currents from distant forests, were used to create the roof support. Once the frame was secure, it was then covered with layers upon layers of sod, earth, and sometimes additional skins. This multi-layered blanket of natural materials was an unparalleled insulator. The genius of burying these structures partially underground was multifaceted. Firstly, it leveraged the Earth's inherent insulating properties. The ground acts as a thermal mass, resisting rapid temperature fluctuations. Secondly, and perhaps most importantly, it tapped into geothermal heat. While not volcanic, the Earth below the frost line maintains a relatively stable temperature, warmer than the frigid air above. This consistent ground temperature, combined with the thick earthen and sod coverings, created a remarkably stable interior environment, often maintaining temperatures well above freezing, even when outside blizzards raged with deadly force. These semi-subterranean homes, unlike their temporary counterparts, offered superior long-term protection, becoming havens of warmth and survival through the harshest of Arctic winters, materials and tools in the frozen north. In the unforgiving expanses of the Arctic and subarctic, where towering forests were a distant dream, Native American ingenuity truly shone in the innovative use of profoundly limited materials. Survival hinged on a deep understanding of the environment and a mastery of specialized tools. For constructing the iconic igloo, the snow knife, or pana, was indispensable, crafted from bone, antler, or even hardened ice. This curved blade allowed for precise cutting and shaping of snow blocks, transforming a seemingly formless drift into a robust dome. Beyond the pana, a suite of bone and antler tools, scrapers, awls, and chisels, were vital for processing hides, shaping driftwood, and creating strong lashings. Driftwood, a precious commodity carried by currents from distant lands, was meticulously collected and hoarded. Though rarely abundant enough for full structural frameworks, it served critical roles as lintels above doorways, supporting beams for elevated sleeping platforms, or as frameworks for tents and semi-subterranean dwellings. The scarcity of wood meant every piece was valued and utilized to its fullest potential. The true marvel, however, lay in the masterful application of animal products. Caribou hides, once processed and softened, provided exceptional insulation, often layered and sewn together to create warm, wind-proof coverings for winter tents or interior linings for igloos. Seal skins, known for their waterproof properties, were stretched over frameworks of driftwood or whalebone to create resilient, weather-resistant roofs for various structures, including the semi-subterranean sod houses common in some coastal regions. Whalebone, with its immense strength and natural curvature, offered unparalleled structural support where wood was unavailable. Ribs could form arches, while vertebrae might be used as foundational blocks or even seating. The process of sourcing these materials, hunting, flensing, tanning, and preparing, was an arduous year-round endeavor, demanding immense skill and communal effort. This deep material knowledge, passed down through generations, allowed these communities to transform the sparse offerings of their environment into shelters that were not merely functional, but true testaments to human adaptability and profound craftsmanship. Chapter 4. The Great Plains. Earth. Wind and resilience, the heartland of North America. The Great Plains is a land of breathtaking scale and formidable extremes. Here, the horizon stretches endlessly, punctuated only by the vast, unbroken expanse of prairie and sky. But beneath this serene beauty lies a challenging reality. Temperatures swing wildly, from scorching summer highs to bitter winter lows, and the very air can transform into a weapon during the powerful blizzards that sweep across the open landscape. For centuries, indigenous nations like the Lakota, Cheyenne, Mandan, and Pawnee called this demanding environment home. Their survival hinged on an ingenious understanding of their surroundings and a remarkable adaptability in crafting shelters. These communities faced a unique dual challenge, designing structures robust enough to withstand the devastating force of a Great Plains blizzard, while simultaneously accommodating vastly different lifestyles. Some, like the Lakota and Cheyenne, embraced a nomadic existence, following the vast herds of bison, requiring portable, quickly assembled dwellings. Others, such as the Mandan and Pawnee, cultivated fertile river valleys, necessitating more permanent, fortified homes. The ingenuity lay in developing diverse shelter strategies that not only offered refuge from the fierce winter storms, but also reflected the profound cultural and economic differences between these resilient peoples. The teepee, nomadic ingenuity. Against the blizzard, the teepee, an iconic symbol of the Plains tribes, was far more than a simple tent. It was a marvel of indigenous engineering, a testament to sophisticated design honed over centuries to withstand the most brutal weather, including deadly blizzards. Its conical structure, immediately recognizable, was inherently wind-resistant. Unlike square or rectangular dwellings, the sloped sides presented minimal surface area for strong winds to push against, allowing gusts to flow around, rather than buffet the structure head-on. The foundation of the teepee's strength lay in its carefully arranged poles, typically 3 or 4 primary poles forming a stable tripod or quadpod, upon which many more lighter poles were leaned. This interlocking framework created a robust skeletal system, capable of bearing the weight of heavy snow and resisting powerful gales. The covering, traditionally made from tanned buffalo hides stitched together with sinew, or later canvas, was meticulously cut and sewn to fit the conical frame snugly. This heavy, durable material provided excellent protection against wind, rain, and snow. But the teepee's warmth and livability in extreme cold were not just due to its robust exterior. A crucial element was the ingenious system of smoke flaps at the apex. These 2 adjustable flaps, controlled by exterior poles, allowed for precise regulation of the draft. When a fire burned inside, the smoke would rise and exit through the opening, while the flaps could be angled to create a venturi effect, drawing smoke out and preventing downdrafts that would fill the interior with smoke. This also provided a constant, albeit controlled, flow of fresh air, preventing the air inside from becoming stagnant or overly humid. For insulation against the piercing cold of winter blizzards, the teepee incorporated an inner liner, often a separate layer of hides or canvas, extending from the ground up several feet. This liner created an air pocket between itself and the outer cover, acting as a thermal barrier, much like modern double-pane windows. Furthermore, the base of the teepee was often secured by strategically placed rocks or mounds of earth, which served multiple purposes. They prevented the wind from lifting the cover, sealed the critical gap where the cover met the ground, and further insulated the lower portion of the dwelling. This combination of structural integrity, superior materials, and sophisticated ventilation and insulation techniques made the teepee an exceptionally effective and surprisingly warm sanctuary for nomadic plains tribes, enabling them to survive even the most unforgiving winter storms. Winter camps and temporary shelters on the plains. When winter's fury descended upon the vast plains, even away from their established villages, Native American tribes demonstrated remarkable ingenuity in establishing temporary camps. These were not random choices, but strategic decisions, often made during extensive bison hunts or when caught by an unexpected weather front. The landscape itself became an ally. River banks, with their natural depressions and often dense stands of timber, offered crucial windbreaks and a source of firewood. Coulees, deep, narrow ravines carved by water, provided excellent shelter from the biting winds, their steep sides acting as natural walls. Similarly, groves of trees, particularly cottonwoods and aspens, created pockets of relative calm, breaking the wind's direct assault and offering a degree of camouflage. For these short-term stays, the grand, elaborately decorated teepees of their main encampments were often impractical. Instead, plains tribes employed smaller, more easily erected structures, variations on the familiar teepee design. These travel teepees or hunting teepees were typically smaller in diameter, requiring fewer poles and less hide, making them quicker to set up and dismantle. The hides, often bison or deer, were still carefully tanned and sewn, providing excellent insulation. Sometimes during particularly harsh conditions or when resources were limited, a single hide might be draped over a simple tripod of poles, creating a lean-to effect, its open side facing away from the prevailing wind and often warmed by a small, controlled fire. Brush shelters, while more rudimentary, also served a vital purpose. These involved a framework of bent saplings or branches, interwoven with smaller branches, reeds, and even snow, to create a surprisingly effective barrier against the elements. These temporary havens, whether a compact teepee or a quickly assembled brush shelter, were essential for survival, offering crucial respite and protection from the sudden, deadly blizzards that could sweep across the open plains without warning, allowing hunters and travelers to endure the storm until the journey could safely resume. Wigwams and weetis, flexible forest dwellings. Beyond the grand scale of the longhouse, many Algonquian-speaking peoples, particularly those in the northeastern woodlands, relied on more versatile and readily constructed shelters known as wigwams, or among the Wampanoag, weetis. These were ingenious domed or conical structures perfectly adapted for smaller family units or the seasonal movements of hunting and gathering. The construction began with a framework of young, pliable saplings, often hardwoods like ash or oak, which were carefully bent and lashed together with natural cordage made from plant fibers or animal sinew. This created a strong yet flexible skeletal dome or cone. Once the framework was secure, the crucial task of covering began. Depending on the season and available resources, layers of birch bark, cattail mats, or animal hides were meticulously sewn or tied onto the frame. Birch bark, prized for its waterproof qualities and ease of harvesting in large sheets, was particularly effective. These coverings were not simply draped, they were often overlapped like shingles and secured tightly, creating a robust exterior that shed rain and snow. Inside, a central fire pit provided warmth, with a smoke hole at the apex of the structure allowing ventilation. While smaller than longhouses, the design of wigwams and wetus offered exceptional insulation. The multiple layers of natural materials, combined with their low profile and often earth-bermed bases, trapped heat remarkably well, providing a snug refuge against the biting winds and heavy snows of winter. Their relatively quick construction and portability also made them ideal for communities that needed to move with the seasons, following game or harvesting specific plant resources, demonstrating a profound understanding of their environment and the materials it offered. Bark and timber construction, a woodland art. In the dense, snow-laden forests of the northeast woodlands, survival hinged on an intimate understanding of the environment, a knowledge epitomized in the sophisticated construction of their homes. For peoples like the Haudenosaunee, Algonquin, and Wabanaki, the forest wasn't just a resource. It was a carefully managed larder of building materials. The cornerstone of their shelter technology was bark, primarily from elm, birch, and cedar, trees chosen for their pliable yet incredibly durable outer layers. Harvesting this crucial material was a delicate art, often undertaken in the spring when the sap was running, making the bark easier to separate from the cambium layer. A skilled craftsman would make precise incisions, encircling the trunk and running vertically, then carefully pry the bark free in large, continuous sheets, sometimes several meters long. These freshly stripped sheets were then processed to ensure their longevity and utility. They would be flattened, often by placing heavy stones or logs on top, and sometimes scored or lightly steamed to prevent curling as they dried. Curing was a vital step, allowing the bark to harden and become weather-resistant, transforming it into an ideal material for roofing and siding. Overlapping layers of bark, sometimes shingled, created an impervious barrier against driving snow, biting winds, and torrential rain. Much like modern siding, but entirely organic. For the structural skeleton of their longhouses and wigwams, specific types of timber were selected. Strong, flexible saplings and poles from trees like ash, hickory, or cedar were preferred. These were shaped and joined with remarkable precision, often using intricate mortise and tenon joints or by bending and lashing poles together to form domed or arched frames. Natural fasteners, such as twisted strips of basswood bark, spruce root, or sinew, provided incredible tensile strength, binding the framework together without the need for metal. The entire process, from the initial assessment of a tree to the final lashing of a roof panel, was a testament to deep ecological knowledge. These builders understood not just the properties of each wood, but also the optimal time to harvest, the best methods for processing, and how to combine them to create homes that were not merely shelters, but durable weather-tight bastions against the harshest of winter blizzards. Their craftsmanship transformed the raw bounty of the forest into resilient architecture, demonstrating a profound connection to their environment and an ingenuity that ensured their survival. Protection from snow and bitter cold in the woodlands. In the unforgiving northeast woodlands, where winter blizzards could rage for days, Native American ingenuity crafted shelters that were marvels of thermal engineering. The iconic wigwam, often seen as a simple dwelling, possessed sophisticated design features crucial for snow management. Its conical, or dome-shaped framework, typically of bent saplings, was then covered with layers of bark, reeds, or woven mats. The steeply sloped roofs of these structures were not merely aesthetic. They were a deliberate strategy to prevent the accumulation of heavy snow, allowing it to slide off naturally, preventing structural collapse under its immense weight. Longhouses, the communal dwellings of many Iroquoian peoples, took insulation to another level. These elongated, barrel-vaulted structures, often hundreds of feet long, were framed with sturdy poles and then meticulously covered with multiple layers of bark, primarily elm or cedar. This multi-layered approach was key. The overlapping sheets of bark created numerous air pockets, trapping air and forming a remarkably effective barrier against the biting cold. It's a principle of insulation still used in modern construction today. Inside these winter havens, a combination of strategies ensured warmth and livability. Central hearths, often several within a longhouse, provided essential heat for cooking and warmth. The smoke from these fires, while a challenge, was managed through carefully placed smoke holes and vents in the roof, designed to draw air currents upwards, carrying smoke out while minimizing heat loss. Elevated sleeping platforms, constructed along the walls of longhouses and often within wigwams, further protected inhabitants from the cold ground, which could act as a significant heat sink. These platforms, often covered with furs and hides, created a warmer microclimate for resting. Furthermore, efficient ventilation, meticulously managed through adjustable smoke flaps and occasional entryways, played a critical role in preventing moisture buildup, which could lead to dampness, mold, and an even colder interior. Beyond individual design elements, the very construction and maintenance of these shelters were often a testament to community effort. Building a longhouse, for instance, required the coordinated labor of many individuals, from felling trees to harvesting and preparing bark. And throughout the harsh winter months, constant vigilance and communal effort were essential for repairs, ensuring the integrity of the bark coverings and the structural stability against the relentless forces of nature. Cedar plank houses, monuments of resilience. Along the rugged, rain-soaked coastlines of the Pacific Northwest, where ancient forests met the churning ocean, a different kind of architectural marvel emerged. The cedar plank house. These iconic structures, built by indigenous nations such as the Haida, Tlingit, Kwakwaka'wakw, and Nuu-chah-nulth, were testaments to both engineering prowess and a profound understanding of their environment. Their construction began with massive cedar logs harvested from the abundant old-growth forests. A sophisticated post and beam framework was meticulously erected, forming the skeletal strength of the dwelling. But the true ingenuity lay in the creation of the planks themselves. Rather than felling and milling entire trees, skilled craftsmen employed a remarkable technique: splitting. Using wedges made of antler, bone, or harder wood, and mallets, they would carefully drive these tools into the grain of standing or fallen cedar trees, splitting off long, straight sections. This method not only conserved the precious timber, but also produced planks that were inherently stronger and more resistant to warping than sawn lumber. These planks, some reaching extraordinary lengths, were then used to form the walls and roofing. Cedar plank houses were often multi-family dwellings, designed to accommodate numerous relatives within their vast interiors. Their design incorporated a brilliant adaptability to the region's dynamic climate. Crucially, many of the wall planks were not permanently fixed. Instead, they were designed to be removable, allowing for crucial seasonal adjustments. In warmer months, planks could be taken down to provide ventilation and light, transforming the communal space. As the wet-cold winters approached, or during the occasional heavy snowfall, the planks would be securely reinstalled, creating a sealed and insulated environment. The natural properties of cedar were paramount to their effectiveness. Its inherent resistance to rot and insects ensured incredible durability in a perpetually damp climate, while its cellular structure provided excellent insulating properties. This combination made the cedar plank house an exceptionally effective shelter, safeguarding its inhabitants against the relentless rains, biting winds, and occasional snows that defined the Pacific Northwest's challenging winters. Pit houses and semi-subterranean dwellings in the Northwest. In the harsh, unforgiving winters of the Pacific Northwest's interior, a remarkable architectural solution emerged: the pit house, known to some as Kekuli or Ksai-Wheatum. These semi-subterranean dwellings were the lifeline for plateau peoples, ingeniously designed to combat the deadly blizzards that swept through the region. The construction began with the excavation of a circular or rectangular pit, typically several feet deep. This depression formed the foundational living space, leveraging the earth itself as a primary insulator. Over this excavated pit, a robust roof structure was erected. Depending on the specific cultural group and available materials, this could be a conical or a more rectangular framework of sturdy logs. These logs were then meticulously covered with layers of brush, smaller branches, and a thick blanket of earth and sod. The sheer weight and density of these materials created an incredibly effective thermal mass. During the day, the earth absorbed what little solar radiation was available, slowly releasing that warmth back into the dwelling through the long, frigid nights. Conversely, the thick earthen roof acted as a formidable barrier against the relentless winter winds and deep snowfalls, maintaining a surprisingly stable and comfortable interior temperature, often well above freezing. Smoke from the central hearth would rise through an opening at the apex of the roof, which also served as an entry point, typically accessed by a ladder. This ingenious design stands in stark contrast to the plank houses found along the Pacific coast. While coastal communities, with their milder climates and abundant cedar forests, constructed large multifamily dwellings from split cedar planks, the interior peoples faced entirely different environmental pressures. Their pit houses were not just shelters. They were sophisticated engineering marvels, perfectly adapted to the extreme temperature fluctuations and heavy snow loads of the plateau. This regional adaptation showcases the profound understanding Native American peoples had of their respective environments, developing distinct architectural traditions that ensured survival and fostered community in the face of nature's formidable power, adapting to heavy rain and moderate cold. The Pacific Northwest, a land of ancient forests and abundant rainfall, presented its own unique set of environmental challenges. Here, Native American communities like the Haida, Tlingit, and Kwakiutl developed sophisticated plank houses, marvels of engineering designed to contend with not just heavy precipitation, but also the persistent dampness and chilling winters. A critical design feature was the steeply pitched roof. Unlike the domed shapes found elsewhere, these roofs, often constructed from large, split cedar planks acted much like a modern-day gutter system, efficiently shedding the region's torrential rains and heavy, wet snowfalls. This steep angle prevented water from pooling, which could lead to rot and structural compromise, a constant threat in such a perpetually moist environment. Inside these impressive structures, another clever adaptation addressed the pervasive dampness, raised sleeping platforms, rather than sleeping directly on the earthen floor, which would inevitably be cold and damp. Families built platforms several feet off the ground. This elevation provided insulation from the cold earth and, crucially, kept occupants dry, preventing the discomfort and health issues associated with prolonged exposure to ground dampness. The heart of the plank house, both literally and figuratively, was the internal fire. Central hearths provided essential warmth during the cold months, but their role extended beyond mere heating. The fires also served as a vital drying agent, helping to air out the interior and dry clothing and materials, combating the ever-present humidity. However, managing this internal moisture required careful ventilation. Strategically placed smoke holes in the roof, often adjustable, allowed smoke and excess humidity to escape, preventing the interior from becoming overly damp and stuffy. These structures were not temporary shelters. They were built to endure. The use of massive, old-growth cedar planks, often several feet wide and dozens of feet long, meticulously joined and sometimes adorned with intricate carvings, ensured their durability. These plank houses were long-lasting, resilient homes, testaments to the ingenuity of their builders in a land defined by its abundant, life-giving, yet challenging, moisture. Material sourcing. The old-growth forest as a resource. The towering old-growth forests of the Pacific Northwest, a verdant cathedral of life, offered a bounty of resources to its indigenous inhabitants. Among these, the western red cedar reigned supreme, its immense trunks and versatile properties making it the cornerstone of their architectural endeavors. Harvesting these giants was a sophisticated undertaking, a testament to their profound understanding of the forest and its offerings. Rather than indiscriminate felling, the people practiced highly selective logging. They would identify specific trees, often deadfall, or those weakened by age, or expertly select live trees with particular grain patterns desired for specific purposes. This discerning approach minimized waste and ensured the long-term health of the forest. Their tools, though seemingly simple, were remarkably effective. Wedges crafted from tough yew wood or antler, driven by heavy stone mauls, were used to painstakingly split planks from the colossal cedar trunks. These weren't crude hacks. The inherent straight grain of the cedar allowed for surprisingly precise splitting, yielding long flat boards with minimal effort once the initial split was established. For finer work and to shape structural elements, the adze was indispensable. With its distinctive blade mounted perpendicular to the handle, skilled artisans could carve and smooth wood with astonishing speed and accuracy, transforming rough timber into intricate beams, posts, and wall panels. Even felling a massive live tree was an art. It involved controlled burning at the base, followed by careful chopping with stone axes, a process that could take days or even weeks, but always executed with a profound respect for the life they were taking. This deep reverence for the forest wasn't merely spiritual, it was a practical cornerstone of their sustainable practices. They understood that the forest was a living entity, a provider that needed to be cared for if it was to continue supporting future generations. They practiced selective harvesting, often leaving the root systems intact to allow for regrowth, and meticulously utilized every part of the tree, from bark for weaving to sap for medicine. The unique properties of cedar made it an ideal building material for this often damp environment. Its natural oils rendered it highly resistant to rot and insect infestation, ensuring the longevity of their structures. The remarkably straight grain allowed for the creation of durable, weather-tight planks and beams, capable of withstanding the region's heavy rains and strong winds, providing a secure and enduring shelter against the elements, including the most unforgiving blizzards. Chapter 7. The Southwest. Desert blizzards and Earth's embrace. The American Southwest, a landscape synonymous with scorching sun and parched earth, presents a striking paradox. While its vast deserts evoke images of relentless heat, this very region, particularly at higher elevations, is also prone to significant snowfall and deadly blizzards. Imagine a land where summer temperatures soar well above 100 degrees, yet winter can bring feet of snow and winds that cut to the bone. This extreme duality demanded extraordinary resilience and ingenious adaptation from its indigenous inhabitants. For millennia, peoples like the Pueblo, Navajo, and the ancient ancestral Puebloans confronted this environmental tightrope, not just surviving, but thriving, by developing architectural solutions that are nothing short of brilliant. Utilizing the very earth and stone beneath their feet, they engineered shelters that provided refuge from both the unforgiving summer sun and the unexpected, brutal winter storms. Their building strategies were deeply rooted in a sophisticated understanding of thermal mass, the ability of heavy, dense materials to absorb, store, and slowly release heat. Thick walls of adobe, carefully selected rock, and compacted earth became more than just barriers. They were active components of a climate control system. These substantial structures would slowly absorb the intense solar radiation during the day, keeping interiors cool and shaded. Then, as temperatures plummeted with the setting sun or the arrival of a blizzard, these same walls would radiate their stored warmth inward, creating a remarkably stable and livable environment, a testament to their profound connection to and understanding of their challenging homeland. Hogans, sacred dwellings of the Navajo Nation, resilient inhabitants of the American Southwest, developed the Hogan, a dwelling deeply intertwined with their spiritual beliefs and practical survival. These iconic structures typically feature a distinctive circular or hexagonal shape, meticulously constructed from local materials. Logs or stones form the robust framework, which is then heavily insulated with a thick layer of earth, creating a formidable barrier against the elements. More than just a shelter, the Hogan is a sacred space, its very design imbued with cultural significance. Its entrance invariably faces east, welcoming the rising sun and symbolizing new beginnings and positive energy. Inside, a central smoke hole allows for ventilation, but also serves as a direct connection to the heavens. The thick earthen walls and compact design are not merely aesthetic, they are engineering marvels, providing exceptional thermal regulation. This ingenious construction kept the interior surprisingly cool during scorching desert days, and more critically, remarkably warm during brutal blizzards and the frigid desert nights. The Hogan, therefore, stands as a testament to the Navajo people's profound understanding of their environment and their harmonious relationship with the land, allowing them to not just survive but thrive in a challenging climate. Cliff dwellings, nature's own protection. Beyond the readily constructed earth lodges and teepees, some Native American communities harness the very landscape around them, transforming natural rock formations into formidable shelters. Nowhere is this ingenuity more evident than with the ancestral Puebloan people and their iconic cliff dwellings. Imagine the sheer scale of the task. Rather than building from the ground up, they identified existing alcoves and deep caves carved by eons of wind and water high within the towering canyon walls. These natural recesses were not merely occupied, they were meticulously adapted and augmented. Skilled masons, using sandstone blocks quarried from the surrounding cliffs and cemented with a mixture of mud and water, erected intricate multi-room dwellings within these colossal overhangs. Walls were built to define living spaces, storage areas, and ceremonial kivas, often extending out from the cave's natural back wall. Roofs, typically constructed from timber beams overlaid with brush and a thick layer of mud, were integrated seamlessly with the natural rock ceiling, creating remarkably durable and insulated structures. These natural shelters offered inherent and profound protection against the harsh elements, particularly the deadly blizzards that sweep through the southwestern plateaus. The deep alcoves provided exceptional windbreaks, shielding inhabitants from the biting, snow-laden gales that could otherwise prove fatal. The massive rock mass surrounding and forming the dwelling acted as a natural thermal regulator, absorbing heat during the day and radiating it slowly at night, creating stable internal temperatures far more comfortable than exposed surface dwellings. This inherent insulation made the cliff dwellings remarkably warm in winter and cool in summer. Furthermore, their elevated, often secluded positions offered a natural defense against both human and animal threats. The ancestral Puebloans also demonstrated a profound understanding of their environment in the strategic placement of these communities. Dwellings were often oriented to maximize passive solar gain in winter, with south-facing alcoves capturing the low winter sun to provide warmth, while the overhangs themselves offered shade from the intense summer sun. Natural drainage patterns were also carefully considered, ensuring that rainwater and melting snow were directed away from the structures, preventing erosion and water damage. This sophisticated integration of architecture with the natural world stands as a testament to their deep ecological knowledge and their unparalleled ability to survive and thrive in a challenging landscape. Passive solar design in the arid lands, in the sun-drenched yet often frigid landscapes of the American Southwest, Native American builders mastered passive solar design with an ingenuity that predates modern architectural theory by centuries. Their pueblos and cliff dwellings stand as enduring testaments to a profound understanding of their environment. These structures were meticulously oriented, not by chance, but with a deliberate precision to harness the sun's energy. South-facing walls, often featuring large window openings, were positioned to absorb the low-angle rays of the winter sun, flooding interiors with warmth when temperatures plummeted, a critical defense against the brutal cold of desert blizzards. Conversely, the intense summer heat, equally a threat, was mitigated through clever design. Carefully calculated overhangs and setbacks in the multi-story pueblos, along with the natural protection offered by the alcoves of cliff dwellings, created deep pockets of shade during the hottest parts of the day. This strategic shading prevented direct solar gain, keeping interiors remarkably cool. The very materials of these structures, thick adobe and massive stone walls, functioned as sophisticated thermal batteries. Throughout the day, these dense materials slowly absorbed solar radiation, storing heat within their mass. As the sun set and the desert air grew dangerously cold, especially during a blizzard, this stored warmth was gradually released into the living spaces, providing a stable, regulated temperature throughout the night. This natural heating and cooling system was not merely a comfort, it was a fundamental pillar of survival in an unforgiving climate. Chapter 8. Beyond Blizzards. Adaptations for Other Extremes. While the winter's icy grip presented a formidable challenge, Native American shelter design was far from a singular response to blizzards. Indeed, the very same profound understanding of their environment and sophisticated material science that protected against sub-zero temperatures and howling winds was masterfully adapted to confront a much broader spectrum of climatic extremes. Consider the desert heat, where temperatures could soar to unbearable levels. Here, structures like the Pueblo adobe homes, with their thick earthen walls, acted as natural insulators, absorbing the day's heat and slowly releasing it during the cooler nights, much like a reverse thermal battery. The small, strategically placed windows minimized solar gain, while the earthen materials themselves helped to maintain a stable interior temperature, offering a cool sanctuary from the scorching sun. The threat of drought and the scarcity of water also influenced architectural choices. In arid regions, certain shelters incorporated designs that facilitated water collection, whether through sloped roofs guiding rainwater into storage or the strategic placement of structures near natural springs. Conversely, in flood-prone areas, especially along major river systems, elevated platforms and stilt-supported dwellings were common. These ingenious designs lifted living spaces above rising waters, ensuring safety and preserving belongings. Even against the destructive force of high winds, Native American builders exhibited remarkable foresight. The conical shape of the teepee, for instance, wasn't just efficient for warmth. Its aerodynamic form allowed strong winds to flow around it rather than creating resistance, greatly reducing the risk of collapse. Furthermore, many structures incorporated flexible elements or robust anchoring systems to withstand powerful gusts. This wasn't merely a series of isolated solutions, it was a holistic approach to shelter, a testament to a deep-seated respect for nature's power and an unparalleled ingenuity in harnessing local resources to create homes that offered resilience and comfort against the full, often unforgiving spectrum of climatic challenges. Heat and drought adaptations, staying cool in the sun. Beyond the biting blizzards, Native American ingenuity also tackled the opposite extreme, the scorching heat and parched landscapes of the American Southwest and parts of the plains. Here, architectural strategies transformed sun-baked earth into havens of cool, demonstrating a profound understanding of thermal dynamics. The iconic adobe dwellings, for instance, were not merely structures, they were sophisticated climate control systems. Their walls, often several feet thick, acted as massive thermal masses, During the day, they slowly absorbed the intense solar radiation, preventing the heat from penetrating the interior. As evening descended and temperatures dropped, these walls would then radiate their stored heat outwards, creating a remarkably stable and cool indoor environment throughout the hottest hours. Strategic shading was another cornerstone of their design. Overhangs, carefully positioned to block the high midday sun, were common. In many Pueblo communities, multi-story buildings were constructed, with upper stories providing shade for the lower ones, creating a cascading effect of coolness. Ventilation was critical. Small, strategically placed windows and doorways, often oriented to catch prevailing breezes, facilitated cross-ventilation, drawing cooler air through the living spaces. Some designs incorporated roof openings or vents that allowed hot, rising air to escape, creating a natural convection current that pulled in cooler air from below. The semi-subterranean kivas and pit houses of earlier periods also offered significant advantages in hot climates. By digging into the earth, they utilized the ground's natural insulating properties. The earth maintains a more constant temperature than the air above it, so these structures remained cooler in summer and warmer in winter. Courtyards, frequently found within larger Pueblo complexes, played a dual role. They provided shaded outdoor living spaces, and when combined with water, facilitated evaporative cooling. A common technique involved wetting the ground or placing water in porous vessels within these courtyards. As the water evaporated, it absorbed heat from the surroundings, creating a localized cooling effect. Material choices were equally deliberate. Adobe, with its light color, reflected a significant portion of the sun's energy, further reducing heat absorption. Plastering walls with lighter clay or even whitewash served a similar purpose. While these adaptations were specifically designed for heat, many of the underlying principles, thermal mass, insulation, strategic ventilation, and the utilization of Earth's stable temperatures, are remarkably versatile. The same thick adobe walls that kept out the summer sun also retained warmth during winter nights, and the semi-subterranean design that cooled in summer also protected against winter's chill, showcasing a holistic approach to shelter that transcended seasonal extremes. Chapter 10. Legacy and Modern Relevance. The ingenuity of Native American shelter design, born from necessity and a deep understanding of the land, offers more than just a historical footnote. It presents an enduring legacy, profoundly relevant in our modern world. As we grapple with an increasingly volatile climate, marked by extreme weather events and the urgent need for sustainable living, the lessons embedded in these ancient structures become invaluable. The principles of passive solar heating, natural ventilation, and utilizing locally sourced renewable materials, all hallmarks of indigenous architecture, are not merely quaint historical practices. They are sophisticated, time-tested solutions to contemporary challenges. Consider the earth-sheltered homes, the thermal mass of adobe, or the flexible adaptability of a teepee. Each embodies a wisdom that prioritizes harmony with the environment over conquest of it. These are not just methods of building, they represent a philosophy of interaction with the natural world, a profound respect for its resources and rhythms. In a world increasingly seeking answers to climate change and the depletion of resources, the enduring legacy of Native American shelter design stands as a powerful testament to sustainable living, offering not just blueprints, but a foundational paradigm for a more resilient and respectful future. The profound knowledge embedded in traditional Native American shelter construction, honed over millennia to withstand the harshest elements, faces an ongoing vital effort toward preservation and revitalization. Cultural institutions across the continent play a pivotal role in this endeavor, acting as repositories of ancestral wisdom and platforms for education. Museums, often in partnership with tribal nations, curate exhibits that not only display historical structures and tools, but also offer interactive programs, bringing these ancient techniques to life for contemporary audiences. Educational initiatives, from university courses on Indigenous architecture to hands-on workshops within communities, are crucial in transferring this knowledge across generations. These programs often pair elders and knowledge keepers with younger apprentices, fostering a direct lineage of learning that is both practical and deeply cultural. Crucially, Indigenous communities themselves are at the forefront of this resurgence. Tribal preservation offices, cultural centers, and community-led initiatives are actively documenting, researching, and rebuilding traditional structures. This is not merely an academic exercise. It's a reaffirmation of identity and a practical application of sustainable, regionally appropriate design. We see the inspiring work of contemporary Indigenous builders and scholars who are meticulously studying archaeological evidence, oral histories, and surviving examples to reconstruct longhouses, earth lodges, and wickiups. These individuals are not just replicating structures, they are re-engaging with the underlying principles of material selection, site orientation, and communal effort that defined ancestral building practices. Their work ensures that these invaluable architectural traditions are not relegated to history books, but continue to evolve, offering sustainable and culturally resonant solutions for future generations, demonstrating the enduring ingenuity and adaptability of Native American architectural heritage.